If you've watched our video guide on defensive options in Smash Ultimate, you're armed with a variety of useful tools to keep yourself safe from opponents. And whether you prefer to play aggressively or more defensively, you'll need a bit of both sides in your playstyle. In this video, we'll be outlining the logic behind whether you should be approaching or camping and giving you some tried and true means of doing so. But real quickly guys, don't forget to check out ProGuides.com to get a look at all we have to offer. From tier list and informational resources to our Play with Pros coaching program and our pro course with top-of-the-top smasher MKLeo, you're sure to find content that both entertains and educates you. Now on with the video. If you like camping, that's fine, and we'll be going over when and how you should camp a bit later, but we know lots of you like to play aggressively, so let's start there. Both types of gameplay have pros and cons. The main benefits of aggressive play are, first, that you can pressure your opponent, which forces them to choose more defensive options that limit what they can do and also pushes them towards the corner of the stage. Aggressive gameplay will also frighten your opponent and can lead them to respecting your options excessively, or even panicking out of fear of what you might do. Since most attacks are unreactable at close range, aggression can catch your opponent off guard. Now for the downsides of offensive play. First and foremost, any attacks that you whiff or miss space are potentially punishable. Also, by getting close to your opponent, you also enter their unreactable range and can get hit off guard yourself. So when should you be playing more aggressively? Well, there isn't one be-all end-all answer, but aggression requires careful estimation of your risk-reward ratio. For example, if going for an attack will let you deal lots of damage or take a stock if you land it, then it's likely worth it unless your opponent can punish with something more severe. This is, of course, an incredibly basic breakdown and doesn't factor in the likelihood of an attack connecting, which is extremely important as well. If your opponent whiffs a laggy move, you can absolutely go for a punish that leaves you vulnerable because you know it won't miss. This is an example of a whiff punish, which is among the most common ways of finding a hit in competitive Smash. Whiff punishing tends to fall more into campy and defensive play, so we'll talk more about that later. Although the risk-reward concept may lead you to believe that being aggressive is typically safer at lower percents than at higher percents, that isn't always the case. In many matchups, a character's most reliable options in neutral are low-percent combo starters and not KO moves. Because of this, you can in some ways be more at risk in neutral at 0 than at kill percent, and too often players make the mistake of playing more aggressively and carefree in these positions, only to give the opponent the momentum of low-percent combos that may even lead to a stock. Don't forget that when your opponent is on their last legs, they're trying everything they have left to win the game, so you should be extra careful here and use just enough aggression to swiftly crush their hopes of a comeback without giving them any chances. One of the most essential concepts of aggressive play and approaching is overshooting. Overshooting can be defined as aiming for where your opponent is going rather than where they are, with the expectation that they will retreat or move away. For example, if you play against someone who likes to roll or dash back every time you run towards them, you may find yourself coming up short and missing when you approach. Instead, run towards the opponent and continue running when you reach the area where they were originally positioned, and if they retreated, you can pursue their new destination. Fast dash attacks like jokers are great for overshooting on the ground. And you can also use the reverse ground rush technique, also known as pivot canceling, to chase retreating opponents down with sliding tilts. Overshooting works in a variety of situations and is generally a counter to defensive and camper playstyles. When you're edge guarding, your opponent is likely to drift away from you, so you can drift further to catch them. Even reading a double jump when juggling opponents above you is a form of vertical overshooting, allowing you to punish the jump by swinging higher than their original position. It's difficult to say whether or not this is technically classified as overshooting, but another very useful tactic is to switch between using vertical and horizontal aerials. For example, if you're juggling someone with up airs for a while, they'll probably start drifting away from you in an attempt to avoid another up air. Often in these positions, players are stuck focusing on getting away from the space above you, and they let their guard down to horizontal attacks like a back air in the new position they've taken. Now moving on to the pros and cons of defensive play. For the benefits, defensive play uses more empty movement and less committal options, so it's much harder for your opponent to find a punish. Running away from opponents is very likely to run out their patience and frustrate them into rushing and playing into your traps. By playing less aggressively, your opponent is also more likely to lower their own defenses, not expecting you to threaten them with attacks. As for the downsides, playing defensively won't pressure your opponent as much, and against opponents who space well and don't give you big punish opportunities, it can be harder to rack up damage and close out stocks like this. As mentioned before, you're more likely to be pressured into the corner or into shield playing defensively, and your opponent may overwhelm you. So when is it a good idea to play more defensively? In general, if your opponent tends to whiff often, you can play more passively and whiff punish as a straightforward plan for winning neutral. Whiff punishing, put simply, is the process of waiting for and baiting the opponent to throw out or whiff a move unsafely and then going in and punishing their lag. Fast dash attacks like foxes and greninjas make excellent whiff punish tools, as do quick dash grabs like jokers. Whiff punishing effectively is extremely vital to defensive play, as it allows you to still capitalize and win neutral without approaching. Remember that unless your opponent SDs, you need to take stocks or at least deal damage to win a game of Smash. Playing defensively is also smart when you have a lead and you want to stay alive, as your opponent will have to approach to take back the game. It can also be beneficial, however, to play defensively as a comeback mechanic if you need to slow down a game to find openings more carefully. Contrary to overshooting, a major concept of defensive play is undershooting. Undershooting can also be defined as aiming for where your opponent is going rather than where they are, but this time with the expectation that they will be approaching or moving towards you. For example, if you play against an opponent who often runs towards you and swings, you can throw out your attack early to catch them as they run into you. Falling aerials like Wolf's Fair work great for undershooting. You can jump forward to bait the opponent and drift back in fair to catch them approaching, starting a good early percent combo. Whether you prefer to be aggressive or defensive in Smash, we hope this video helps you understand both sides in greater depth. We'll let our guard down for you, so make sure you aggressively click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell while you're at it so you can be the first to catch all of our daily uploads.